Hi everyone, Jenny Lee and Angie here from the Nourish Your True Self team, and we're super excited to have our friend Katelyn with us today.
Hi.
So, hey Katelyn, welcome to the Angie and Jenny Lee show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we kind of do this instead of podcasts because we like to see everybody's face. But we're super excited. If you saw our latest video, Angie was recently certified as intuitive eating counselor. There it is.
Yeah.
So we're super excited to now bring you one of what I'm sure will be several videos from people who are exploring intuitive eating and want to share their aha moments and maybe have some questions about the process as well. And so, Katelyn, you shared an aha moment with me the other day. And I was saying to you, you're super new to intuitive eating. I'm kind of in the middle, and Angie's our pro. You shared your aha moment. I was like, that's exciting. And I think we need Angie. And voila, here we all are. So, Katelyn, why don't we just start with you? Why don't you kind of tell us how you found the intuitive eating book and share the aha moment you stumbled upon?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I'm very, very, very new to it. It is a new concept that I am trying to explore. And it's because of you guys. Like I had never even heard of it before, you guys have been sharing about it I love it. It's super cool. So I had asked Angie if I could borrow one of her books too, so that I can just get more information about it.
There's my book. I was wondering where that went.
I have it. It's me. I'm a super slow reader, so you won't get it back right away. But
I have multiple copies.
In the first few chapters, I've been really trying to interpret it and how I can apply it to my own personal life. And it is a journey, and it's not something that I'm definitely going to conquer by the end. But one of the small things that I do notice is my breakfast routine. So what I was saying to Jenny Lee and Angie before was that since I can remember, my routine was as soon as I wake up, go downstairs and get breakfast. That was like, since I was a kid, that's exactly what I did. And I never really thought about it. It was just something, alarm went off, went down to the kitchen, and I made it. I never second guessed it. So part of what the book was saying was challenging yourself to kind of rely on your natural instincts and to listen when your belly says, I'm hungry. So it's been a challenge, but I've been trying to do that. And one of the things I noticed was that my belly wasn't hungry as soon as I woke up. And so I was thinking, like, was I forcing myself to eat when I wasn't even hungry just because it fit my routine and my lifestyle and what my day looks like? So I kind of just brought it up to Jenny Lee and Angie that was I forcing myself to eat breakfast when I wasn't ready to? Because now my body's saying at 10:30 that I'm hungry for breakfast, where normally at 7 a.m. I was forcing myself to eat. And then at 10:30 I would go down and get a snack or make breakfast or things like that. And I was feeling better. So I felt proud that I was able to kind of trust my body that it's saying, hey, I'm not actually hungry at 7 a.m. I'm hungry at 10:30. Why have you been feeding me at 7 a.m. this whole time? Yeah. And I don't know if it was just because it was convenient for me, convenient for my day, I don't know. So it was just kind of one of those moments like, what about this? And then Jenny Lee, you had brought up some good points about how important breakfast actually is. So just that kind of fine line between listening to your body, but also fueling to have energy for the rest of the day. Yeah, so that was kind of my aha moment.
I love that, Katelyn. And so, yeah, you shared that with me. And as someone like in the middle of it, right, who also teaches with Angie by myself people about intuitive eating, I was like, this is really great. You're listening to your body. And wait a second, Angie and I are always talking about how important breakfast is for so many reasons that we won't necessarily get into today. We might, who knows? So I said, this is a cool aha. And Angie, I think you're going to have some insight to help everybody understand a little more the fine line between listening to your body and feeding it when it's necessary to be fed, even if your stomach's not grumbling. Angie.
Love it.
We are just
everything
waiting.
About this. Right. So fun. I will say there's a couple of things that I'm going to kind of intro. When you go through the book, there are 10 principles, right? And one of the first 3 or 4 is honor your hunger. So early on, you get you get exposed to this idea of your body will tell you, and if you can honor it and respond in a way, then you guys are kind of making friends and taking care of each other. The tricky part with hunger, especially when you're new to the journey, is we don't know what it feels like. Especially in our dieting world, we tend to rely on outside messages to tell us if we're hungry or if we're full. So I'll give an example that happens 18 times a day. Well, this is my diet plan from wherever. Pick a diet. Any diet, it doesn't matter. I eat my breakfast. I feel hungry within a couple of hours, and I say, well, I can't be hungry. I had breakfast. So we are relying on the fact that the diet plan is telling me what I should be doing and not trusting what my body is saying and ignoring it and saying that can't be right. I'm going to push that away. So my body gets used to not trusting that if it tells me that I'm going to do anything about it. Right. So oftentimes those subtle bits of what hungry feels like, hungry doesn't only just feel like something is missing in my belly. Hungry can feel like a lot of different things. And the range of hungry, right? So the range of hungry is from, I could have a snack, to like, I'm going to push somebody down.
Angry.
Like elbows up, starving Marvin, get out of the way. And then there's like really headachy and snappy and lightheaded. So all of those are hungry. So on this journey, you get to figure out, well, where am I on this hunger scale and what does that feel like? And everybody's body is different. I've had clients tell me they can feel it in their arms before they feel it in their belly. It's really, really cool. And I would also say that part of intuitive eating is also taking good care of yourself. So as much as it seems like intuitive eating means I should only eat when I feel really hungry, that's missing a little bit of the piece, right? Because sometimes 7 a.m. is the time that I get, and to take care of myself at that time because I don't get a chance before that. That's also intuitively taking good care. What I usually tell people is, because we've been sleeping and we're waking up on empty, within 3 hours, within 2 or 3 hours of waking up is a reasonable breakfast. And exploring that and being confident. I think the biggest thing here that I'm so excited about, Katelyn, is that you're feeling confident enough to explore and be curious and test some stuff out and see what happens. Because there are times of the day, and everybody is very different. There are times of the day where we're more into food, and there's times of the day where we'll have something, but we don't tend to have our big meals. So I can describe for you, and Jenny Lee knows this very well. I wake up at 5, like so hungry. I have 2 breakfasts and a snack before I get to work. Like I eat a lot in the morning because that's when I'm most interested in food. Supper, I have supper, but it's not very big compared to what I would have for my 2 breakfasts. But my husband's the opposite, right? If he eats right when he wakes up, he feels nauseous. So he gives himself a little bit of time, has a little bit of food, and then he's more interested in the afternoon. Both of us are doing it right. The great thing about intuitive eating is there's no wrong. You can't do it wrong. There's no, I got to do each of these steps in order and check it off and get it perfect. And that's not even a possibility. That's not the plan. So the fact that you're coming to the table, and I'm sorry for that pun, it came out, I couldn't help it. Coming to the table curious and confident to test stuff out because you're not going to wreck anything is really heartwarming. And knowing that what you learn now and what you learn the second time through the book, it is different, and it's so interesting and fun.
Yeah, you just get to grow on it. And Angie, I don't know about you, Katelyn, I want to hear what you kind of took from what Angie just shared, because the things that I was curious about when you shared it with me, Angie has been able to answer for you that I was curious about, but there was a few points that I just want to reiterate. The idea about you might not eat first thing in the morning because it just doesn't feel good in your body, but eating within 2 or 3 hours is super important, because a part of intuitive eating means I eat even when I'm not hungry, because I know I need to consistently fuel my body. So I loved those pieces. And I also loved the idea about, like, Katelyn, you said it. Like, I don't really know why I eat at 7. Well, is it because we get this message about get up, eat breakfast, go? And we can be curious about that. Katelyn, you might find, oh my gosh, when I try and shift it a little later, I run out of time before work. So then you go back to 7 o'clock because, like Angie said, sometimes it's just about what works for you. Like, I don't know how many times my lunch was early this week because I knew my afternoon was going to be wild. So I ate a bit early because I didn't want to not be able to eat, right? And so I just want to point out some of the things that were really, really struck me in there.
And I would also add to that, Jenny Lee, when you eat early, when you intuitively know that I'm not going to get enough time and I've got to eat early and I'm really busy, part of that intuitive eating can also be, I know I'm eating early and I'm not hungry, and I'm going to make sure I get a little bit more. I'm going to choose the biscuit. So I'm picking Tim Hortons just because, I don't know, it came to my mind. I'm going to choose the biscuit and the sausage egg McMuffin thing, because it has more and is going to last me longer. So taking that kind of care is also intuitive. The idea, like if we were going to go straight intuitive, that's like infants, right? I'm hungry, I demand food, I get food right this minute, I go to sleep. Well, that's not realistic. We do have to fit it into our world. We do have to fit it into our life, and taking good care can also, and getting it when you can and getting enough to satisfy you and last can also prevent other eating problems or eating concerns, or really the lack of confidence that I don't feel like I'm doing a good job later in the day.
And that's the other thing I love is you can't do it wrong, right? Like curiosity is the number one thing about intuitive eating, and just be curious and testing things out. And so, Katelyn, I'm so thankful that you're here. And knowing that coming and sharing this with us isn't for us to be like, Katelyn, because you can't do it wrong. You're not doing it wrong. You're being curious and thinking about it, which is just so super awesome. So I'm curious, Katelyn, with what Angie shared, together with your aha moment, what did you take from what she shared? What was really helpful, or what leaves you with some questions?
Yeah, I think part of my routine is so different now with COVID. Like COVID has just changed everything. And so thankfully with our work is that I have been able to work from home a lot more, which I feel like has allowed me to get creative and explore this. Not that I couldn't eat at work before, but I feel like because I'm in my home, I can kind of challenge myself a little bit more. And so that's where I felt comfortable kind of waiting until I was hungry. Where if I was in the office, I might be more concerned, like you said, Angie, about eating because I know I'm not going to get the time later, or worrying about like getting busy and forgetting to eat. So the pros and cons of me eating at 7 before I even start my day is I know I had a meal to sit down and enjoy, rather than trying to force it in somewhere during the day. So allowing that time would be helpful. But knowing about within 2 hours of waking up, because also working from home, I sleep in a bit. So when my belly is hungry, that is within the 2 hours. So that is good to think about. It also pushes back my day as well, because when I'm hungry at 9:30 or 10:30, I'm not hungry for lunch as soon. Where before, if I was eating at 7, like 11 o'clock would come around and it's like, oh, my belly's telling me it's ready for something else. Where now it's more like 1:30. And again, with our job, I'm just really grateful to have that flexibility that I can run downstairs and grab a snack, where before I might be in meetings or have appointments and just not being able to accommodate that. So COVID sucks, but it has given me the opportunity to kind of explore my eating in a safe place where I didn't feel stranded. Like if it doesn't go well and like I'm hangry, I'm in a safe place where I can go and, you know what I mean? Like my kitchen's right there, where I might not have had the confidence to try this if we were in our regular routine. Which is silly, because there's absolutely nothing stopping me from trying this when we're at work. But for some reason, I just felt comfortable doing it in my space.
I think the comfort level is important.
Yeah,
right?
and I think also your fridge is right there. It's a little easier to get up and go to your kitchen than it is to like you've pre-packed your stuff to take to work. At least you can be a little more curious about what's in your fridge.
Yeah.
Katelyn, I'm curious to hear what you think about when Angie says about eating when you're not hungry, because in order to like sustain or like sustain what you need. And so I hear you saying like, I'm really hungry at 11:30. Now I'm not hungry till 1:30. You know, like hearing that, what would you do if you were like hangry at 12 and you're like, well, I don't usually eat lunch till 1:30. Like hearing kind of that, what do you think you would be curious about your hunger?
If you had asked me last year, I would have said, wait till 12. That's your lunch. But this year, I'm trying to be more in tune to when my body's telling me something, I need to listen to it. So I'm not scared to have lunch at 11 o'clock if that's what my belly's telling me that day, or if I'm not scared.
That's so great.
I'm not like Angie's husband where I feel like nauseous if I eat first thing in the morning. It's just not what my belly is asking for. So I have no problem like challenging myself and saying, you know, this is the time that I have to have breakfast to fuel myself to have a good day. I'm comfortable exploring that as well. Yeah, I just find it's tricky. It's a fine line between listening, but then also doing to set your body up for success throughout the day.
Well,
it's also because it's new, your body still is also not necessarily convinced it's going to get what it wants when it asks. So you both are learning at the same time, right? So I have some clients who they don't have lunch, like they have to wait until noon. They have a flexible enough job, they could have their lunch, but they have a what we would call like a hold me over. Like I just need a little bite of something so I don't show up so hungry,
starving.
They call it the intuitive eating calls it the primal hunger, so that I'm so hungry that I can't tune into when I feel full. So there's also room for, well, especially if someone, I've got clients who say, well, I really am not hungry till, let's say 10:30, but they do wake up at 5. That is a long time, and maybe you need a little hold me over, or a little, I need just a prime the pump, put a little fiver in the tank so that I can get there and not be so starving Marvin that then I lose my confidence and I feel like I don't want to use the word in control, because that's not really what we're going for here. We're going for in tune. I don't feel like I'm in tune and I've missed the boat. And the great thing about this is tomorrow's another day. You're going to miss it. There's going to be days you can't figure out what's just right until you figure out what's too much and what's too little. So there's going to be days, and that's part of it. And tomorrow's a new day. And each time you test that, you learn stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah. And I'm super excited for you too, Katelyn, because you've said a few times like what my belly's asking for. And so I'll just be, because I know we know you and we'll have check-ins with you. Maybe you'll come back and tell us more as you work through the book, who knows? But I'm just so excited for you to explore like what other ways is your body telling you it's hungry, right? So that we don't always have to wait for the feeling in our belly. You know, that one time, Angie, my client, told her like, I feel it in my arms. We were like blown away. Like, you know, when we hear people, they say, you know, we're pretty familiar with hangry, you know, but we also hear like, I feel foggy, or I do find it hard to stay concentrated, or you know, like
I feel so irritated.
Yeah, I get a little antsy. And so I'm excited for you to even think about how else is my belly or my body telling me I'm hungry? Like it's tapping you on the shoulder. And what are the taps that happen before your tummy grumbles? Because we know your tummy grumbles is like the grand finale, essentially. But what are the little taps that come before that, so that, like you said, I'm listening to my body and I can tell when it grumbles, but be curious about what it's telling you before it gets to grumbly tumbly mode, which will be super cool. And like Angie said, we have no idea what that will be. I've never heard I feel it in my arms.
I've heard it twice in the last 2 months.
Yeah, like it's super cool, but we never really know what people are going to discover until they're attuned to it. And yeah, so I'm just excited for you to maybe be curious and experiment with that as well.
For sure. Yeah, no, I'm excited too.
That's awesome. Well, it's super cool. I don't know about the two of you. I feel super satisfied with where that conversation went. I'm so hopeful that people will watch it and have their own aha moments, maybe be curious to pick up the book. Katelyn, would you say that that having people to bounce ideas off with the book is helpful as you work through it? Like when I read it, I had Angie, right? And so I'm a little biased because I'm always bouncing stuff off Angie. But as someone who's totally out of our world, do you find it helpful to have someone to bounce ideas off of, to clarify and look into things compared to maybe just reading it in isolation on your own?
For sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you guys have been saying, it's different for everybody. So it's not like I feel success because I don't know what to compare it to, if that makes sense. Like everybody's is different. So I don't know if I'm doing it right or wrong, where you guys are just saying like there's no right or wrong way to do it. So it's hard to measure. Yeah. So like just being in tune to those small things and checking in with you guys like, hey, that is listening to your body, but what about this is helpful. Yeah.
That's super cool. And I hope helpful for people too. And so I guess a bit of a plug that if you decide to pick up the book and Katelyn has inspired you to explore it, or Angie's piqued your interest, there it is. Thanks for the plug, Katelyn. Don't ever hesitate to reach out to Angie and I. We'd love to chat with you about it, to help walk you through, you know, unravel any myths or questions that you through while going through the book. And Katelyn, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your aha moment with us, for coming on and doing this with us and sharing your perspective with people, and just being you, your curious self. And that's how you know you're doing it right. You're making friends with your body. You're talking to it. You're listening to it. That's how you know you're doing it. Yeah. Angie,
thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take two. Angie, any last thoughts before we head out for the day?
No, I think the biggest thing is even though we've the numbers, right? Principle 1, principle 2, principle 3. Sometimes when I'm working with people, we start at 7 because that's where we're at, or we have to kind of skim one because that's a little bit too close to home and I'm not ready for it yet, right? So I've never had a person go through it once, right? And knowing that I've got a lot of really good exercises and worksheets and things that can kind of help you, prompt you with questions like these, because it really is more of a exploration than it is follow these rules and then you'll do it. That we want that because that's what's sold to us in the dieting world. But that's not what this is about. So it's exciting every time, every person, it's exciting.
So exciting. Katelyn, welcome to the world of intuitive eating, my friend.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Amazing. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Come back anytime. I'll remind you, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all under the name Nourish Your True Self. Have yourself a stellar day, everyone.